not know me, my name is Brittany. Nice to meet you. So happy New Year. I think this is our first Sunday back together, yeah? It's so good to see you because we're starting a new series. So if you are here today, you were meant to be here for the launch of part 1. Our series is called Relational Intelligence, and it is giving you the people skills you need for the life of purpose you want. And so I hope that we are all geared up. Our first part 1, we're gonna watch a quick video, and I want you to see if you can determine what relationship we're focusing on today. Here we go.
Be good. Don't party, okay?
I did the craziest thing today.
Was it something gross?
It was just something I never thought I'd do. Like ever.
Did your parents find out?
Yeah, they were totally shocked. My mom cried. And for the first time in a long time, I just felt good.
What did you do?
Alright, so he definitely gassed it. What is the relationship that we are going to be focusing on today? Who can tell us? Okay, what did the video show us? So yes, today is going to connect to your relationship with God. Oh, there it is. I know that you guys knew that and you're just super shy, but y'all gotta shake that off because we're super interactive. I'm gonna be asking you guys for a lot of things. So if you didn't hear the young man in the front, what he said was we are focusing on our relationship with our parents. So to get into it, I'm gonna tell you a quick story about my sisters and I and why it's important to honor what your parents tell you. So if you go to the next slide, you will see a picture of my beautiful mother. A little bit about my mom. She was a model before she had my sisters and I, and also as we were growing up. She is gorgeous. Can we just clap it up for Mike? Yeah. All right, so this photo says, classic look, remember Mother's Day, May 13th, 1984. Pay no attention to that date. I am absolutely 21 years old. So what happened is, this is from a magazine called Jet Magazine. You're all too young to know what magazine that is, but it's fine. And this was a Mother's Day edition, and these are my sisters. They are twins. Now they're older than me, because again, stay with me, I'm 21. So, my mom was always like into beauty and products and just like looking her best. And so naturally, as her daughters, we wanted to do the same. So we would take her very expensive lotions and creams and just make potions, adding water, adding oil, and really dumb things that is a waste of her money. So she would get really upset with us as we tried to beautify ourselves with her things. And she would say, stay out of my bathroom, stay out of my things. And we're like, Mom is just being mean. She won't let us have any fun. At that time, I was in elementary school. This is me and my 2 sisters that are in that picture as well. And they were in middle school. And so like all of our friends got to like do their hair, and my mom would still put us in braids, and we're like, we're too old for this. And we wanted to do like all of the things. So we didn't listen to my mom. We continued to play in her products and play in her bathroom. Okay. So one day we're in her bathroom, and my sisters have her hair cutting scissors, which are not like paper scissors. They're like actual sharp scissors meant for hair. And so these lovely little ladies are playing around, trying to pretend they're cutting each other's hair, and this twin snipped this twin's braid off completely. So when my mom came home and my sister was missing an entire section of her braid, it was bad. After that, she definitely got a spanking and definitely had to cut the rest of her hair to match that one spot that got cut off. And for like the next 2 years, you could always tell them apart because one had like ridiculously shorter hair. So it's okay, you can laugh. It's something we laugh about now, but It is a simple example of why honoring your parents is important. And so today's message title is called Honor Your Parents with Your Head, Your Heart, and Your Hands. Hold questions, I promise I'll answer it. All right, so it's important to honor your parents because God says so, right? And we'll talk about specifically what he says, but sometimes we think that our parents don't get us, that they don't understand us. We may even feel like what they're asking us to do is pointless, or that they don't even know what they're talking about. They're old, they're outdated, they have no idea. What I want you guys to know is that despite what we think, our parents do know what they're talking about. They were once kids in elementary school, in middle school, in high school, who then became young adults, who then went to college, maybe, or started work, who eventually had you. Becoming a parent does not erase every experience before that. So why do I say that? If you are on your cell phone, I need you to put it down and lock in. Because are you wearing socks? Raise your hand if you're wearing socks today. Great, I'm gonna knock your socks off. So I need you to pay attention to everything that I'm saying. Put your cell phones down. All right, so the reason I tell you all about how your parents were once in your shoes is because they have already lived a version of the life that you're living. It may not be exactly the same. The people might be different. The school might be different. The date on the calendar is obviously different, but there is nothing new under the sun that they are not equipped to help you with or that they have not experienced themselves. So when parents require something from us, it's always for a good reason. So let's go into scripture now. The scripture you've probably heard before comes from Ephesians 6:1. And it says, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor your father and mother, which is the first commandment with a promise, so that it may go well with you, and that you may enjoy long life on the earth." So it says it's the first commandment with a promise. It's one of the 10 commandments. God gave us 10. He spent one of the 10 telling us to honor our parents. That's right up there with thou shalt not kill. So honoring your parents is just as important as not killing someone. Imagine. All right, so if we go to the next slide, we're going to break that down a little bit. All right, first let's talk about what it means to honor. If we look at the top there, it says honor means to regard with great respect or high esteem. When you respect somebody, there is nothing that you won't do for them. It's almost like, wow, I look up to you, I regard you so much that whatever you ask of me, I'll do. That's what it means to honor. It also means to do what is right. We all know what's right. We know what God calls us to do. You've been taught the difference from right or wrong, so you know how to honor your parents. And lastly, honor means you keep an agreement. The agreement that you have with your parents simply by being born is that you're going to listen to them. It happened when you were born, and that's how things are, right? And then the other part of this is we talked about it being the first commandment that has a what? Promise. A promise means it's going to happen. I'm giving you my word. It's a sure thing. It is not a lie. It is guaranteed. Who can identify the promise there? What's the promise attached to this commandment? I want to hear from my high school students. Leilani, what's up? Talk to me. I need that loud and proud. Like, so if someone was standing in the back, they could hear you. One more time.
So that it may go well with you and that you may enjoy long life on earth.
Beautiful. In other words, if you want to have a blessed life, if you want to live a long life, you need to honor your parents. So, Brittany, you telling me if I disrespect my mom, I'm going to die? Ooh, not quite. But again, your parents have wisdom. Wisdom that can keep you safe. wisdom that can help you avoid making mistakes that will cost you your opportunities, that could cost you your future. All right, so the young boy in the beginning, he gassed it and made it seem like, ooh, I did something, and my parents. He really cleaned the house, right? It's a great way to honor our parents, and I want us to think along those lines as we go through this message. All right, to drive this point home, there are more scriptures. If you don't believe me, if that's just a slide on the screen, I'm going to share some more with you. This concept of honoring your parents is also in Matthew 15:4. If you have your phone, I know I said put your phone away, but if you have your phone, you could go in the Bible app to Matthew 15:4, and it says this: "For God commanded, honor your father and your mother, and whoever reviles his father or mother must surely die." My goal is to scare you this morning. Okay, what does revile mean? Revile means to criticize, right? To hate. That's a big one. Can I just say I was terrible in middle and high school? Terrible, my poor mother. If my mom didn't let me do something, I was quick to say, I hate you. I don't even want to say that out loud. But I used to say that. And then I would go right to my room, right to my diary. Dear diary, I hate my mom. She wouldn't let me talk on the phone. Really, of all the things, you're laughing. We're here, okay. Of all of the things to hate your parent for, I was like, a lot. Poor mommy. All right. Revile also means to insult. So I'm going to give you another one. Maybe you don't write in your diary. Maybe you don't say I hate you, but oh my God, she's so dumb. Oh my God, my dad is so ridiculous. Oh my God, my parents are the worst. Familiar? I see some head nods. Thank you for your honesty. Yeah. All of those things are ways that we dishonor our parents. And the word says that that is an atrocity. That is something that can cost you blessing and long life. The other scripture is Proverbs 30:17. And this says, "The eye that mocks a father and scorns a mother talks back, will be plucked out by the ravens of the valley and eaten by the vultures." I know. I was just kidding when I said my goal is to scare you. It's not that at all. My goal, in fact, is to drive home how seriously, if you can't tell by these three scriptures, God takes honoring your parents. Let's get into why. Why does God want us to honor our parents? Well, first of all, culture tells us to do opposite what God says, right? Their authority, they don't know what they're talking about, hide things from them, keep things from them, be sneaky. How many got a Finsta? Don't raise your hand. But I know you got it, right? That's not the one that your parents know about, right? Who you are in school is somewhat different than how you are at home. I know because I'm a principal and I've been a teacher for 16 years prior to that. So I kind of got the inside tea on how kids are at school and then how they get when their parents are here. Now again, don't do the math. I'm still 21. All right. So society has also made it possible so that kids could actually divorce their parents. You can file for what's called emancipation and support yourselves and become an independent. I don't recommend that because life is extremely hard. Adulting is different. You don't want to get here before your time. All right, but society has created a culture that you can do that. You're doing the math, and I said don't do that. So, why does God, despite what society says, tell us to honor our parents? Here we go. The first reason is that God is a God of relationship, right? He is so invested in our relationships that he wants one with each of us. When he created Adam and Eve, he created the family structure. He literally told them, be fruitful and multiply. He wanted the earth to be full of families and full of relationship. And so the way we honor our parents, the way we respect our parents, says a lot about how we show respect to God. Honoring your mother and father teaches you to honor your heavenly Father. And so, as others start to observe you honoring your parents, maybe you're an older sibling, maybe you're the middle child, maybe you're the baby. regardless of where you fall, or you're an only child and your friends see it, by honoring your parents, you create what's called a trickle effect, where people see what you're doing and they start to do the same. Not only that, remember I told you like your parents were kids and then teenagers and then college students and young adults who then had you? Guess what? If you don't know, you're one day going to be an adult. Newsflash, right? New news, didn't know that. And you might have kids someday. And you're gonna want your little people to honor you too. Make sense? How many of you have younger siblings? It's a lot of you. How many think your sibling is crazy when you tell them to do something and they don't listen to you? Some of you are the little sibling and you're laughing. Check this out. Imagine being a parent and the kid that you had that's way younger than you is not listening to you. Can you imagine? Right. That's what some of you guys do to your parents. So I want you to consider that. It's going to be a cycle, and you're going to want to model what you want your kids to do. Second thing, respect is important for showing respect to God, but it also teaches respect for authority. Your parents are your first exposure to authority. If you do not learn how to respect your parents, you're going to struggle with respecting your teachers. If you struggle with respecting your parents and teachers, you're going to struggle with respecting your boss. Are we seeing a trend here? Right. I'm going to give you 2 examples of children. Here's the first one. This is nobody in this room. So like you're in school and your teacher asks you to do something and you suck your teeth or you say something back, try to make the class laugh or try to like perform real bad. It's nobody in here, right? So when that type of student comes to my office, I'm always like, do you talk this way to your mother? And they're like, yeah. And then all the pieces come together and I'm like, okay, makes sense. Now I see why you're talking to your teacher this way. And so I have to call in the parent and we have to have a nice little meeting so that that student really understands how important it is to respect their parents. Again, that's none of you guys. And then there's the other type of student where they made a mistake, talked to the teacher a little crazy, and I have to say, do you talk to your mother like this? And they're like, no. They're like, why not? And I'm like, why not? And they're like, well, because I respect her, I love her. Awesome. Do you know that that's the same way you're supposed to treat your teacher? And they're like, yeah, my mom taught me that. And then they make the adjustment. We're not asking for perfection, but we're asking you to understand that your parents are an authority over you. And the reason God does that is so that he can teach you how to respond to other people in authority over you. All right, and lastly, and probably most importantly, showing honor to your parents demonstrates the love of Christ, all right? It creates strong bonds, it can heal broken relationships, and it helps you to grow as a Christian. It's an opportunity to share the love of God, and when you have mastered sharing the love of God to your parents, probably the people who irritate you the most, yeah, we're being honest in Quest Teens this morning, when you master that, you can show love to strangers. You can show love to that classmate at school who is just impossible because you learned how to love at home. Thumbs up if that makes sense. Perfect. All right. So why did I tell that story in the beginning? There's a lot of stories I could tell about my relationship with my parents. I'm not going to give you the worst. There's time for that. But this little story about my sisters and I and my mom's products really drives home a greater theme that took place when we were kids. A lot of the time, we felt like my mom was just bossing us around or telling us what we could and couldn't do because my mom was no fun. She didn't want us to have fun. We couldn't sleep over. We couldn't go here. We couldn't go there. But we realized it was just for our safety. We were convinced that our mom didn't understand us. But as we grew and we matured, we realized something else about our mom. My mom loved us sacrificially, and she was tired. Now, I don't know about you guys and who raises you, but my mother was a single mother, which means she parented us by herself. And so she gave us literally everything she had. If it came to us eating and not her, we ate. If it came to her going without and us having plenty, we had plenty. All that she asked in return was for us to listen to her and for us to be respectful. In other words, for us to honor her. Her instructions were actually for our good. And by not honoring her, it hurt her. It upset her. It caused her to lose patience. She was working 2 jobs, so coming home to 3 children who she was sacrificing everything for, who couldn't follow through on a simple instruction, who couldn't do the dishes when she asked, or who couldn't walk the dog, or who couldn't grab her the remote because she was too tired. How many hate that? Can you grab me the remote and it's like right over there and you're like, why can't you get it? Oh, it was just my mom who did that? Yeah, okay. Yeah, by not doing little things like that and quickly responding with attitude, it would make my mom feel terrible. It would make her feel discouraged. And so it took us maturing to realize that we were a little selfish as kids. And so the older we got, the more we began to see all that my mom did for us. And we actually apologized and started to learn more about my mom, to see what her childhood was like, what her relationship with our grandmother, her mother was like. And it helped us to actually grow closer. So what I'm going to do is show you a video of that. For me, it took too long. It took me way too long to be close to my mom, to actually be able to call her a friend. But now, me and my mom, we gang, we locked in. That's my bestie. I can tell her anything. And you'll see the same for this young man.
A single question would, go into this 2-3 hour bonding experience where I hear out my parents, their struggles of growing up in China, their favorite memories and their favorite food even, and how they didn't have any food. What are the most important lessons you want to pass on to the next generation? What's your most precious memory? What were you doing when you were my age? What's the best advice you've ever gotten? What's something that always brings you joy?
你有什么建议给所有的家长？
给所有的家长，我觉得最重要的第一就应该是不要跟自己的孩子对立，要跟他们交朋友，就好像你跟他是平等的。
I had all these stories in my head of how they might not like it, or they'd be awkward about it, or they would even reject me for whatever reason. It was as if they had been waiting their whole life for me to actually come forward and to get curious about them.
我很喜欢中国很多古老的思想，好像要尊重家长啊，就不反对这些，好像要尊重老一辈啊，这些都不反对，都觉得是很好的。但是在生活中，如果你好像很死板的、刻板的去要求，一定要孩子怎么样尊重你，那你首先你要也尊重孩子的看法呀、选择呀什么。
I kind of had these two cultural positions at odds, where at school I desperately wanted to fit in, but then at home my parents, operated in their culture. I was bullied in middle school, and that just caused me to reject my parents. I was like, okay, I need to kind of go into this world, rejecting their love, not knowing how to receive their love, not knowing how to give them love. I never hugged them. Them speaking to me was probably like walking through a minefield where anything could have triggered some explosion. It was one of those, this is it moments of, I would never regret working on this. And I just know that doing this and translating the questions, they would at least help me have the language that I never had, ask my parents the questions I never got the chance to ask. After 6 months of just interviewing other Asian Americans, hearing how big of a challenge it was for so many other immigrant families, that we were like, this just has to be put out there. I asked my mom the simplest question of, what was your favorite food growing up? It was a good 3 hours where she started telling me about, well, first of all, I didn't have any food growing up. All she ate was this porridge that was like grain plus water. And that was what they used to put on the walls as glue to build buildings back in the day. But they were so poor because of the Cultural Revolution, and she grew up at the height of the Chinese famine. It completely opened up my understanding of why she valued food so much. Cooking and baking is her therapy. She loves doing it. She loves doing it for other people. She would always give me way too much food, pile it onto my plate. I used it as an excuse to lash out at her. I'd be like, Mom, how many times did I tell you I can't eat all of this food? And I didn't understand why until she shared just how precious it was to have anything. And later on in life, how precious it was to be able to feed someone else. This was her way of saying, I love you. And what clicked was, I never really understood why my mom loved giving my neighbors so much food. So she would go downstairs and just have my dad feed the neighbors. It was her way of just giving back to the world.
I think the proudest moment in my life was when I swallowed my ego and I was like, I'm going to be friends with my parents. And Dad, I think for the very first time in my life, I think you and I are friends now. And that's probably the proudest moment of my life. And and so
you said that.
I said that and I recorded it on Zoom.
The mission to me is simply, however it happens, to help people connect more deeply with their parents. Having gone through that journey, it transformed my life like nothing else has. What I would hope for everyone is to first know that it's possible to improve their relationship with their families by even an inch.
What's really standing out to me is the title of the card game, Parents Are Human. And I've mostly been speaking about parents who really love you and care about you and do all of these things for you. But whoever is in here that needs to hear, if you have a parent who is not the kindest, if you have a parent who doesn't speak to you kindly, if you have a parent who you just don't feel treats you well, I want you to remember that you are still responsible for loving and honoring and respecting them, and that there is a blessing in that. And I encourage you to get curious about that parent. Make it a point to talk to them, to ask them questions, because that's going to help you understand them. I'm not saying it makes their behavior right. I am saying it will give you a point of connection that will hopefully help your relationship. And so whether you have amazing parents or parents that aren't your favorites, I'm going to give you 3 ways to honor them, all right? So in the beginning, I started by saying honor them with your head, your heart, and your hands. To honor them with your head means you have to understand what Scripture mandates, what God mandates, that you have to respect them. Accept that and do it. Accept their authority, obey them, and appreciate them. The blessing in the Bible doesn't say, honor your parents if they're nice to you. Honor your parents if they do what you want. Honor your parents if you like them. If your parent is the most disagreeable person on the planet, you are called to honor them. The blessing is not attached to them in respecting them. It's attached to you. Point to the person that gets blessed when you honor your parent. Hope you're all pointing to yourself. The blessing is for you. All right? Now, you can't honor your parents with your heart and your hands if you have not ingrained that into your head. Are we clear? That gotta be there. It has to be like 2 + 2 is, wow, I'm worried. 2 + 2 is 4. You gotta know that you just have to honor your parents. The next way you can honor your parents is with your heart. That means loving them enough to realize that where your relationship is right now is not where it will always be. So your honor for them is going to change as you mature, just like mine did. All right? One day, you're going to end up being the parent. Your parents will be so old that you love the college, young adulthood, when you own a home. You're going to need your parents. All right? And then lastly, honoring your parents with your hands means doing practical things that show you value and love them. If you're like, Brittany, I have no idea how I'm supposed to do this. Like, I heard you, sis, but like, what now? So glad you asked. Here's the next slide. I want you to look at it, and I want you to call out a couple of things that you can do starting today that will honor your parents. Shout out to everybody taking a picture. Y'all gonna leave out of here with a changed life and a changed relationship. Somebody call something out. What can you do to honor your parents? Do a chore. Love that. That's easy. What else can you do to honor your parents?
Don't talk back.
Don't talk back as bad as you want to. Think it in your head. Don't say it out loud. What else can you do? Ask about their day. Listen, your parents want to talk to you. The hardest thing about being in middle school as a teenager is y'all are weird. I'm just gonna say it. It is the moodiest time in your lives. It's not a you thing. It's an age thing. It's just the period of life that you are in right now. You're feeling yourself, you're discovering yourself, you're growing, you're learning, you're testing limits, you're testing authority. It comes with the age. You are not crazy. It's a part of life. We've all been there, right now? Yeah. Again, I was a terrible teen. But, you know, it's a part of life. So get curious about them. When your instinct is to drift away, I stopped calling my mom mommy. I was too cool. Now my mom is mommy. I need mommy. I need her. You're going through this phase where you probably don't even want to put the Y at the end of that. Am I right? Yeah. Okay? So get curious about them. Focus on your relationship. Give me something else. It's too many people in here for it to be so quiet. We can all read, right? Oh, I'm gonna call my friends in the front. Give me something else. What can we do? Share your stories with them. Come home. Be like, Mom, today, this person really tried it. I guarantee you your mom has some good advice. Dad, I like this person. What should I say? Your dad has shot his shot a couple of times. I promise, he can help you out. All right, your parents are real people. They're real people. Having a conflict, need some advice, a teacher is stressing you out, they've been there. Talk to them. Give me one more practical thing you guys can do. Compliment them! Do you like compliments? Yeah. We live for likes, right? We're posting, y'all better like this pic. You tell all your friends in the group chat, go gas me in the comments. Yeah, your parents like compliments too. All right? What do I want you guys to take away from this? Well, I want you to take away that honoring your parents, next slide, honoring your parents blesses your life, shares the love of God, and helps you to grow as a Christian. So we're gonna seal this time in prayer with an opportunity to get to know the Lord. So I'm talking about how much your parents love you and how much honoring them blesses you, but there is someone who loves you far more than your parents ever could, and that's really hard to do. And that is Jesus Christ.